ازيكم؟ ايه الاخبار؟
هاي.
جود. سو انا كنت عمال ارغي شويه، اوكي، مستني ان حد يطلعني، ما كنتش عارف انتوا واقفين ورا. So it's amazing and it's a pleasure to be with you all, and I really can't wait to tell you stories. And I know we haven't been on a panel before, but I sent some ideas, we shared some stuff, but we're not going to do any of this. مش كده؟ It's not really surprises. I would like to keep this as interactive with everyone as possible. And you each have a story, and I just finished a brief talk about stories. So how about this? How about we start with a quick story about who you are? How about you give us a 30 seconds pitch, not about your company, but about you. Another formal one. I want people to know you. Who are you, Nadia?
Okay. Hi. صباح الخير. So excited to be here. أنا اسمي نادية جمال الدين. مبدئيا تحبوا نتكلم عربي ولا إنجليزي؟ عشان عربي.
Anybody in the room who does not speak Arabic, raise your hand, please. Any non-Arabic speaking in the room? None? Okay, you can shout. No? Okay. So I think Arabic is fine.
Amazing.
ممكن أقولها بالعربي برضه تبقى أظرف بس.
Okay. أنا اسمي نادية جمال الدين. أنا فاوندر وسي او راحت بالي. حاجة تاريخ بسيط عني كده. أنا كنت بشتغل في شركة مالتي ناشونال في الماركتينج ديبارتمنت، ولما خلفت اكتشفت ان في جاب رهيبه when it comes to supporting motherhood. كنت لسه والده في سرير المستشفى، عندي اسئله كتيره جدا، مخضوضه جدا ان انا فجاه بقيت ام وفي بيبي في ايديا مسؤوله عنه. بدات اخش اونلاين ادور على اجابات لاسئلتي، ما كنتش عارفه الاقي حاجه لوكال للام المصريه للطفل المصري اقدر ارجع له. فمن هنا بدات رحلتي، بدات راحت بالي من سرير المستشفى عشان ادعم كل ام جديده في رحلتها للامومه. فدي كانت الستارتنج بوينت، وبدانا بقى عملنا راحت بالي دلوقتي بتدعم الامهات ماديا بدنيا ذهنيا اون جراوند واونلاين من خلال اماكن كتيره وفاسيلتيز كتيره بتديها الدعم اللي هي محتاجاه. فده سريعا كده عشان ما اخدش من وقت.
And you are the CEO.
Yes, I am the CEO of راحت بالي. ودلوقتي راحت بالي on average عندنا 74 مليون سيدة في الشرق الأوسط بتكونسيوم المحتوى بتاعنا عشان تقدر تماستر motherhood ويبقى عندها أمومة سعيدة مليانة بفيزيكال ومنتال ويلنس across the years يعني.
حاجة في منتهى الإشراق من المستشفى إلى راحت بالي. ريم. مين ريم؟ إيه الحدوتة بتاعتك؟
مين ريم؟ ريم المصبح مش مصباح.
المصباح. أنا آسف.
وثاني شيء I came all the way from UAE. It's my first time in Egypt so far.
منورة.
They were telling me what do you feel so far? I was like as if I'm living in an old Egyptian movie. And it's amazing the community here.
أنت بقالك كام يوم هنا؟
بكرة إن شاء الله مروح.
خلينا نتكلم تاني بعد أسبوع.
إن شاء الله.
هي دايما أول طلعة نتكلم بعد أسبوع نشوف إيه أخبار الموفي.
إن شاء الله. Okay. So I come from a chemical engineering background and a serial entrepreneur by passion. So I started my journey in entrepreneurship back during my second year at university. I did not have any experience or background in business, very passionate, a young person, you know, just excited that I'm gonna graduate, find a job, and it's gonna go through the typical, you know, trajectory that they always tell us at university. But then I was shocked by reality. So this is where I diverted into entrepreneurship and started to build my own venture and tapped into different sectors from fintech, technology, and also into a first platform for UAE called Unipreneur for entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, change makers, and innovators. فعندنا community launchpad hub at UAE in which we run initiatives, a series of panel discussions, hackathons, pitch competitions, just
Amazing.
to support the entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurs in the UAE.
Okay, and أنت ال CEO.
I am.
You run the show.
صحيح.
Okay, because أنا بسألكوا السؤال ده تاني عشان السؤال الأولاني جلامرس حبتين، السؤال اللي بعد كده هيدخلنا في العمق شوية نشوف المصايب اللي حاصلة. نور، كلميني عن نفسك، ريلاكس على الشезлونج وكلميني عن نفسك.
هاي.
مين نور؟
مين نور؟ الباك جراوند بتاعي مش بيزنس خالص. انا اصلا الباك جراوند بتاعي موسيقى والكترونيك ميوزك، وكنت دي جي وبروديوسر
نايس.
طول عمري. ف I came from an artistic background. انا اصلا applied arts GC، فبرضه لا ما كنتش افقه اي شيء في البيزنس. بس برضو similar to نادية لما خلفت بنتي اتشخصت باكتئاب ما بعد الولادة بعدها ب7 شهور، وكنت وصلت لمرحلة ان انا كان خلاص بدأ يبقى عندي افكار انتحارية، وكنت حاسة انه there's no way out. وحسيت في نفس الوقت انه ازاي ما فيش resources ومعلومات تبقى سهلة للست اللي بتفكر تحمل، والست اللي حامل، واللي داخلة على ولادة وبعد الولادة، والحاجات دي كلها كان في جاب كبير قوي في الeducation. ف that's when I kind of founded Motherbeing. انا اصلا برضو background بتاعي ان انا birth doula. فانا trained ان انا ادعم الستات اثناء الحمل والولاده، ان انا احضر معاهم الولادات. انا مش جزء من الفريق الطبي، فانا ما اقدرش اولد ست، بس ببقى موجوده معاها ان انا اديها المعلومات والدعم العاطفي والجسدي اللي هي محتاجاه، وبرضو مدربه ثقافه جنسيه معتمده. فبدات اونلاين على سوشيال ميديا، و very quickly كان كوفيد موجود، فكلنا كنا ستك في البيت، فاضطرينا ان احنا نلجأ للاونلاين اكتر، ان احنا ندرب الناس او ندرسهم اونلاين. And now I'm co-founder and CEO of Motherbeing.
ده كلام هايل جدا، وهنا دي نصيحة لكل البنات والسيدات الموجودين. ان شاء الله ربنا يكرمك وتخلفي، اول ما تخلفي هتلاقي طريقة وهتلاقي حاجة مناسبة تقدري تبتدي بيها الشركة بتاعتك. الموتيفيشن هيجي من الحتة دي. اوكي، خلينا نركز في الكرونيكلز اوف بينج ا سي او. طبعا بالاضافه للانشغالات الاخرى اللي انتم حكيتوها، انا عاجبني جدا الباك جراوند ستوري اللي جايين منها، انكلودنج الباك جراوند ستوري بتاعتك ان انت ابتديتي بدري جدا جدا وتحركتي بسرعه في اتجاهات مختلفه. المشكله يا جماعه انه الناس المحترمين الرائعين اللي زيكم بيسببوا مشاكل، because انتوا عاملين زي محمد صلاح. You make it look very easy. رايت؟ محمد صلاح بيستفزني وهو بيلعب، هو بيخلص الحاجه والناس تحييه، ما تيجي تركز فيها هو عمل مصيبه، بس هو عملها ببساطه شديده جدا. What you're saying is الحدوته دي ممكن تكون بالبساطه. خلينا ندخل في الكرونيكلز بتاعت day to day, month to month, year to year. Your leadership، فكره القياده بتاعت الحدوته دي. خلينا نبتدي بالحاجه الاولانيه وبمنتهى الوضوح، حيث ان احنا البانل كله سيدات رائعات وانسات رائعات. Being a woman, how is that? Dun 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 dun.
Should I go first?
Please.
Yeah,
Go
I'll
ahead.
speak in English because if I speak the Emirati accent, it's gonna be hard to a bit.
بصي اختيارك، بس اعتقد برضو الناس هتبقى مبسوطه مش متضايقه، براحتك.
Then, being a woman, this is a very critical question.
It is.
I come from an engineering background. This is a male-dominated field. My co-founders at my startup, all of them are males.
Okay.
60% of my employees also in my startup are males. So I'm a feminist by heart, but at the same time, I'm trying to balance between, running a startup and having equality between male and female. Being a woman, especially when I started my journey building my startup, was not easy for sure. First of all, credibility. Secondly is when I sit in meetings with investors, with partners, I remember I got one comment from one of the investors. He's like, the CEO is a female, and I'm afraid that she's gonna deliver decisions because of her emotional instincts.
That's
So they
new.
have-
That's new. We never heard that before.
I've heard that from
Yeah,
different
I'm
backgrounds.
kidding.
I
That's
was
the argument.
surprised.
That's the classic argument. Yeah.
Exactly. So they always have this stereotype, this mentality. Okay, so you're a woman, and we expect you, if you run a startup or if you're founder as CEO, to be more stereotypically as a male. And I see myself nowadays even, like I remember I have a coach currently, a mental coach with me, to tell me how can I retain my inner voice as a female, and how can I not be stereotypically driven to have the the personality of a male, even as simply as when writing an email. So usually I remember I used to write an email, hi everyone, exclamation mark, I hope this email finds you well, and so on. But then throughout running startups, I see myself, hi, and directly going to the purpose that I'm writing this email. And then I started to get back, to my inner voice and understand, why am I being entitled to be more stereotypically male in my and being more aggressive in how I deal with my co-founder and how I deal with my investors. So I had to recline back and understand how it goes.
Okay. And is the resistance you're facing is pretty much, or the challenges from the outside world, investors or anybody else who's inside the team, being the leader, in an environment that is not classically used to this, being the CEO leading a team that's all, most of them are men. How's that?
Well, it depends on the situation. First of all, I don't like when someone calls me a female entrepreneur or a male entrepreneur.
Very good.
There should be no segregation. It's entrepreneur and that's it. You treat me as a human being regardless of my gender. So that's something that I believe in. And this is the culture that I'm building in my startup, is that you're gonna treat the individual as a human being. It's not because she's a female that you're gonna set certain limitations in terms of dealing with her. So initially it wasn't easy, let's say 4 years ago, 3 years ago, but currently it became the norm.
Very interesting.
So you lead by proving.
Yeah.
That's it. And
You
that's
build the credit and you show the merit, and people should deal with that only.
Exactly.
I mean, I cannot agree with you anymore. And but I totally understand that the practicality of it cannot be easy day to day while you're going through that direction. So I'm going to go to you, Nadia, but I want to ask you a question. Are you guys familiar with the famous Silicon Valley story about the two female co-founders who, okay, so it's a true story. Two female co-founders of a company, I can't remember the name of the company, they couldn't get a meeting with an investor. They weren't being treated seriously with a lot of people. And they would send emails and people would not reply to their emails. But then a male co-founder joined, let's call him James. So James started sending emails asking for appointments, James at da-da-da-da-da, and James is asking for an appointment, Zoom calls, and sending proposals, sending things, and things changed dramatically. The company became very well received, and things started going very well. And these two co-founders did something amazing. They published an article, and they went out and they said, James does not exist. There's no male co-founder. This does not exist, and this is our story, and this is what's happening, and this is what's happening in Silicon Valley, and you guys need to take us seriously. So, Nadia, tell me more about this.
I have to second first everything Reem said on not being taken seriously and labeling an entrepreneur as an entrepreneur regardless of gender. And I went through the same struggle when I started Rahet Bally. Everyone was making fun of the fact that you just gave birth. How can a mother with a 1-year-old baby start a company? And how could she actually build a team, and how would she seal deals? I used to take my baby with me to all my meetings. I used to breastfeed in the middle. I wanted to prove a point, and from there, I started to build a female-based company of over 200 mothers and women to show the world that the motherhood penalty does not exist. There's this saying where if you're a mom, they keep on, the investors in specific, they keep on asking you personal questions. Do you plan for a second baby? How do you balance work and life? Things that are extremely personal, and show you how a motherhood penalty actually exists. So I wanted to prove to the world that we can be a team of incredible mothers putting in the work every day, multitasking, and being extremely productive and extremely successful. And now Rahet Bally is the eponym for motherhood in Egypt and the Middle East. So not being taken seriously is a challenge. Being a mother, entrepreneur, is another challenge. And we overcame these things by teaching our team to compartmentalize, which means you shouldn't be balancing work and life. When you're with your kids or when you're at home, you're 100% present and mindful. And when you're at work, you're 100% present and mindful. You don't need to balance. You need to let go of perfectionism. You need to respect your limitations and know who you are and who you are not. So I am a female entrepreneur. I am a mother. And I am not 24/7 workaholic, and I'm not accessible 24/7. It's absolutely fine. You are good enough. You need to have self-compassion. And just as Reem said, you put in the work and then you prove to the world and you let results talk about you more. Because definitely females, and especially mothers, go through a lot of agony to start up a business, to lead a team. But when she puts her mind to it, a mother is the strongest backbone of a family. A mother gives life. A mother is incredible. So goes for women in general. So you are capable of so much. You need to believe in yourself and stay away from people who let you down. Stay away from those voices, because you are your biggest hero and your biggest competitor, and you can definitely do it.
And I like the enthusiasm about the passion in her voice, and I want عايز افكركم زي ما قلنا قبل كده بعد ما هناخد يعني دردشه شويه عايزين نسمع منكم بس يعني اسئله مباشره ليهم ففكروا فيها احنا بنتكلم. There is one thing that I don't believe in what you said.
Sure.
انت قلتي you're not a perfectionist. يا جماعه ناديه مطلعه عيني بقى لها اسبوع.
شهاب هتفضحني على الهوا.
لا
انا بحب ابقى organized.
Which is wonderful. No, I'm saying this in a positive sense. But it's good because it's important when you know I'm a perfectionist. I want to get things بطريقه معينه. And when it becomes OCD to the extent it's painful and strong. The balance is good, and I think the most important thing is to remind yourself it's okay. أنا هعمل كذا 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 but this is where I stop.
Yes.
But I can see the passion in everything that you do.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes, بالبلدي كده احترمي محدوديتك. It's okay. يعني let go of الستاندردز اللي انت متخيله ان انت المفروض تبقي فيها.
This is wonderful, and I wish we have more time to just discuss this, but this is very important. Nour.
I don't think there's a need to repeat what both of them said because I echo the same feelings. I think the thing اللي أنا اكتشفتها في نفسي ك CEO leading a team is actually إن أنا I utilize my femininity and my feminine intuition إن أنا lead my team with empathy and إن أنا أبقى مركزة على growing my team and retaining my team rather than اللي هو you screw up you're out. بالعكس I nurture every single team member and I think ده اللي بيخلي في الآخر إنه الشركة بتنجح لأنه الناس اللي فيها فعلا حاسين إن هم مهمين وإن هم even if they screw up they will learn and we will grow together. ودي حاجة I think that women leaders are really good at when they're
Amazing.
able to utilize this part of them اللي هو احنا هنقعد وهنتكلم and we'll do things that sorry يعني بس most men won't entertain. ففكرة ان انا في employee متضايق make the time to sit with her and talk to her and make sure that she feels that she's supported within the company is essential to building a culture that's actually sustainable and long term.
رائع ومن غير سوري ولا حاجه في حاجات كتير جدا انا معترف بيها ما بنعرفش نعملها اساسا. طيب away from this بس انا عايز اقول على حاجه عشان انت قلتيها مهمه جدا. I totally agree يا ريم انه we should treat each other on the merits of credibility and achievements and everything, but also we should not ignore the fact that this culture still exists and we need to talk about it and we need to find a way to continue the discussion about it. Now away from this كل واحدة فيكم انتوا بتتكلموا اتكلمت عن التيم and I think this is wonderful and كشخص مر بتجارب مختلفة بعضها يعني ما كانش ناجح جدا وبعضها كان فيها كرم كبير من ربنا. أكبر تشالنج موجود عند ICO هو التيم وازاي يكون البالانس. وانا همسك النقطة اللي نور ابتدت عندها ازاي يكون في بالانس ما بين اولا الهايرنج بروسيس and then the firing process when you need to. يعني في firing process في ثقافات كتير جدا خاصة في عند ناس كتير لك ما قطعش العيش right. So hiring and firing, find the talent, balancing this, having time to actually get them and train them and then becoming the human not just the CEO. يعني I love this how to have time and train and work with them. So tell me a little bit more about وما تقوليليش بس السيلفر لايننج والحاجات الحلوه. انا عايز المصايب, انا عايز اللقطات اللي فعلا ما كنتوش عارفين تعملوا ايه, احتجتوا فيها and how did you go through this. So tell us some of the inside stories about you and your teams and making the tough choices. نور واضح عايزه تنطلق.
ابدا
يلا.
طيب هنتكلم على الحاجات اللي مش حلوه صح عشان احنا
مش بالضروره. Just share with us your difficulties and how did you come over them.
No, I think يعني in my case والاندستري بتاعتي هي حاجة اللي هو بنخلقها من أول وجديد, فما فيش قوي you can't I didn't know who I was looking for في الأول لما كنت ببدأ الشركة, اللي هو أنا محتاجة مين يعني, لأنه مين هيخش في شركة بتعمل ثقافة وتوعية عن الصحة الإنجابية والجنسية, إيه مواصفات الشخص اللي أنا ممكن أدور عليه ده. فبدأت أفكر اللي هو okay I need someone with a bit of a research background, حد بيعرف يكتب كويس, حد عنده creative background شوية. و I got really lucky إن أول مرة كان بعد سنة مثلا من being active and actually working عملت my first open application اللي هو I'm looking for someone to join the team. جوجل فورم كده بسيطة جدا, واليوم ده أنا كنت قاعدة مع نفسي we had over 600 applications. اللي هو انا كنت محتاجه هاير حد يبص معايا اصلا على الابلكيشنز دي. ومن الابلكيشنز طبعا كان في حاجات that didn't apply و I had to filter. وانا برضو باك جراوند مدرسه الماني، فانا فيا حته ال cut throat شويه دي. فكان بالنسبه لي I was really looking at في الاخر not really the background the educational background ولا قوي ال work background. Obviously now it's more important to look at the background في الشغل، بس في الأول when I was starting it I was reading the motivational الجزء الموتيفيشنال في الابلكيشن اللي هو انت عايز تيجي تشتغلي هنا ليه اصلا، like what's important to you. وكان في الريكوايرمنتس فيه لو هتقولي لي عشان حقوق المرأة وانا ست وانا feminist يبقى ما تقدميش اصلا. يعني tell me really why. And then I was able to filter ال 600 دول بقوا 5 والخمسة دول بقوا 1.5 و somehow I got a deal ان انا I was able to hire 2 for the price of 1 kind of.
Okay.
بس it's
ما
difficult.
بتهزرش نور، ما بتهزرش.
it's difficult ان الواحد يبدأ بالذات الشركة مع الوقت طبعا you learn to let go and you learn.
Tell me about the tough decision. What's the toughest decision about your team that you had to make? Of any kind. ممكن يكون you know hiring someone, firing someone, punishing someone, something. I don't know. Just when was a tough moment?
I think it wasn't really a tough moment قد ما هي it was an inflection point for Motherbeing's story was when I met my co-founder, which was 2 years into the company. وما كنتش قادرة استوعب what it means because I'd always been a solo founder and CEO والكل في الكل. But I really was able to أبقى مدركة ايه ال limitations بتاعتي and where I stop and then where I can يعني where I really need someone in order to take this to the next level. And that was a very difficult realization بالنسبة لي أنا إن أنا أحس نور أنت شاطرة جدا وجامدة جدا وعملتي كل الحاجات دي بس you need another person on the team to join.
Perfect. أنا هنكمل مع الناس وبعد كده هاخد سؤالين عشان الوقت بتاعنا قصير. So please, these questions need to be amazing questions, okay? Nadia.
Hi.
Hello. وبالمناسبة مش لازم بس على التيم. أنا actually I would like to know if you can share with us a very, very tough challenge, whether personal as a CEO, whether personal or professional, that's happening because of your position and leadership.
اوكي سؤال حلو. عايزه اقول بس نقطه سريعه that you were asking about في الهايرنج ان دايما حاجه we're very famous about في راحه بالي في الهايرنج ان عشان لما حد يبدا يبيلد تيم ان احنا دايما بنعين ناس عندهم نفس الكور فاليوز. دي مهمه جدا 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 عشان لما الناس احنا شركتنا فيها فوق ال 200 حد من all the walks of life. السبب الوحيد ان كلهم بيشتغلوا حلو قوي مع بعض وعندنا تقريبا اقل من 1% تيرن اوفر ريت في اخر 7 سنين هي ان احنا كلنا عندنا الامباثي، عندنا بنسميه القلب الحلو وكاتبينه على الحيطه عندنا لان القلوب الحلوه دي ايوه فيري تشيزي بس then again it makes a difference لان ممكن تعلم حد اي حاجه ما عدا ان قلبه يبقى حلو. الانتجريتي، الترانسبيرنسي، leaving no one behind، الافكتيف كوميونيكيشن، كل الحاجات دي مهمه جدا لما نيجي نعين حد. دي الحاجه اللي تبصوا عليها دايما اول حاجه قبل السكيلز، قبل الاديوكيشن، قبل البريفيس اكسبيرينس. لما تقعد مع الشخص ده وبتشوف الكور فاليوز بتاعته دي بتبقى انديكيتور جامد جدا ده شخص هيقدر يبني معاك شركتك ولا لا. طيب نتكلم على تاف بوينت. غالبا كان وقت كوفيد في 2019 و2020 احنا البيزنس مودلز بتاعتنا بتاعت راحه بالي قايمه جدا على الاون جراوند فاسيلتيز. احنا فاتحين اماكن كتيره جدا في مصر بتدعم الامهات والايرادات بتاعتنا جايه كلها من اون جراوند فاسيلتيز كانت في الوقت ده. فلما حصل الكوفيد انا فجاه عندي 230 ست على البيرول وزيرو ريفينيو ولازم ادفع المرتبات دي كل شهر لمده سنتين جايين بقى لحد ما نقدر نفتح تاني.
ما كنتش عارفه حتى وقتها سنتين ولا قد ايه؟
يعني انا بقول بقى راجعي دلوقتي الحمد لله ان احنا قدرنا. بس ساعتها كنا بقى ايه سواد ومش عارف كل الفاسيلتيز مقفوله، كل الريفينيو ستريمز بتاعتنا مقفوله وكل الشركات مش بتصرف وكل حاجه كل الريفينيو ستريمز عندنا صفر. فعملت ميتنج انا فاكره اليوم ده مع التيم كله قلت لهم يا جماعه انا جدوني 24 ساعه هفكر وهتفكروا معايا احنا ايه اللي ممكن، ايه البيفيتنج اللي ممكن نعمله اوفر نايت بحيث ان بكره يخش لنا فلوس عشان نقدر ندفع مرتبات الناس كلها. انا was very transparent و they were very supportive وقلنا هنتشقلب وهنفكر. اوفر نايت طلعنا ببزنس موديل جديده تماما، ببزنس بلان that's incredibly beautiful and dynamic، وقدرنا فعلا في الشهر ده نحقق ارباح، مش بس الريفينيوز العاديه بتاعتنا تكفر المرتبات، الارباح لان كنا ترانسبيرنت مع بعض وكنا اونست، وكان كل التيم فعلا عايز ينقذ المركب ده، لان كل التيم عندنا بيبقى حاسس ان هم صحاب الشركه. الامباثي واللويالتي والتراست اللي ما بيننا رهيب. فدي كانت definitely one of the toughest nights في حياتي.
That's the nice thing, because you started with values, so everybody has ownership and everybody's
Yes.
part of the story, so they want to save the story.
Yes, and كلهم دايما لما لما حد بيبقى نقطة في بحر غير لما يبقى البحر كله، احنا كلنا بنبقى حاسين كلنا البحر. الامباكت اللي بنعمله النهارده في راحة بالي بنشوفه النهارده، بنشوف تغيير في حياة الامهات النهارده، سواء من المحتوى او من الكورسز او من البروجرامز او من المنتجات اللي احنا بنعملها للامهات.
Thank you very much, Reem.
Thank you.
So I want to say first, entrepreneurship is like building a plane while it's flying. And this is exactly
You learn by doing as you go.
So in terms of the challenges, I've been through a lot of challenges, but I'm gonna tap into one point called transformational leadership. This is a strategy that I've been adopting in running and leading my team, is that I base my strategy, I base the way that I deal with you based on what motivates you and what incentivizes you. So I'm not gonna deal with Mohamed the same way I'm gonna deal with the other colleague or the other employee, because I know you have your own needs, you have your own requirements. So we're gonna transform it based on the culture that we're trying to build in the startup. One of the toughest challenges that I feel, it's not running a startup or hiring or processing. All of these stuff can be undone. But as a CEO, as a founder, the decision of your company is within your hands. So there are some times where we sit in meetings and you're asked to make a decision on spot, and you need to, you're asking yourself, wait, I need time to think, to evaluate the decision itself, but you don't have all of this stuff. And then all of your co-founders are relying on you. Can you do it or can you not do it? And this has been one of the toughest decisions. And because I remember also one incident, we had a client who was gonna pay us like hundreds of dollars to build a big project. But because of the way he disrespected my co-founder and how I sensed my co-founders were not comfortable dealing with him, we had to cancel the contract. Even though this contract was gonna provide us revenue for the upcoming 12 months. But because of this, I had to
That's
prove.
a tough decision.
That was a very tough decision.
decision.
Because we understood I had to pay payrolls and the expenses and the overhead and all of these stuff. But because of the way he disrespected my co-founder and how everyone, you can sense it, there's tension, like your guts are telling you, despite if you can cut it right now, but the long-term sustainability value would be greater.
This is a tough choice, and let me tell you, I've seen this, and over the last few days I talked to other people, and we've seen this with other examples. I had the same situation in my team where I was pampering a client for so long, taking a lot of heat, but within the acceptable limitation, until they actually crossed the line where they insulted one of my team members. And I said, you know what? I don't care. I don't care about the penalty. I don't care about anything. Which you have to think about, like, I lost all this money for that guy or for that team. It better pay off. The challenge here, or the idea here, is this is an investment. You're making the very long-term investment, and in people it doesn't get any better. So I'm going to take around with the crowd, but I'm going to ask you to think of something else. Continue, fill in the space, okay? The three of you fill in the space before we go. Do not try to be a CEO if you are. 3 points. Just think about it until it'll take a round. Do not become a CEO if you are. Now, questions. Anybody wants to have an input? We have the gentleman over here, and we have the lady over here.
كنت عايزة أعرف بس أنتوا بتعملوا evaluation للبيزنس موديل كل قد إيه في السنة؟
Okay. So let's take this question for a second and زعق بقى من هناك كده. مين اللي أنا شاورت لمين هنا؟ يس. حد قريب منه بمايك؟ ها قول.
هي ان يكون في دايفرستي في التيمز اللي شغاله وافكار متعارضه ومتنوعه. فدور السي او بان هو ينفورس الدايفرستي انسايد التيمز اللي موجوده عنده، ويتاكد ان هو وجوده كسي او بيعمل فرص في المجتمع. يعني في اماكن الفرص فيها قليله جدا.
سو انا عايز اتاكد من حاجه، انت شايف ان الدايفرستي، مساله انه التيم شبه بعضه وان التيم جايب ريفرنسز من بعضه، دي حاجه مش كويسه، لازم يكون في دايفرستي اكتر من كده علشان. وفي ارجيومنت تاني انه ده بالعكس، لما يكونوا زي بعض يقدروا they have common values، يقدروا common language، يقدروا يتعاملوا مع بعض. So pros and cons of having a very homogeneous team that's working together. How about we take these two questions and then we see if we have more time. Who wants to take the first shot or any of these questions?
ممكن ارد على
اسم حضرتك ايه؟
جميله.
ساره سالم.
اهلا يا ساره، منورانا. انت كنت بتسالي احنا بنعمل ايفالويشن قد ايه للبيزنس بلان بتاعك. بصي طبعا ما اعتقدش ان في اجابه يعني 100% يونيفايد للسؤال ده، لكن انا هقول لك انا بعمل ايه. احنا في الشركه عندنا بيبقى عندنا مانثلي ريفيو، بيبقى عندنا كوارترلي ريفيو، بيبقى عندنا ريفيو في نص السنه وريفيو في اخر السنه. حته هتغيري في البلان حاجه جذريه دي ممكن تحصل مثلا on a quarterly basis، لو في مشكله اخر كل 3 شهور عايزه تريفيو وتغيري للكوارتر اللي بعدها. لكن شهريا بتبقي متابعه الكي بي ايز اللي المفروض توصلي لها، عشان ما تتفاجئيش اخر الكوارتر ان انت محققتيش اللي انت عايزه توصلي له، او ان انت مش ماشيه على الطريق اللي انت رسماه مظبوط، او محتاجه تغيري حاجه. فالاجابه السريعه ممكن تبقى on a quarterly basis you have to review التارجتس بتاعتك والبيزنس بلان بتاعتك.
بيرفكت. حد فيكم عايز يزود على النقطه دي ولا نخش على السؤال الثاني؟
اظن برضو في فرق ما بين شركه established ومالتي ناشونال او حاجه كده وستارت ابس، لانه when you're بتقومي في شركه لسه ممكن تلاقي نفسك ان انت whatever plan you set للكوارتر تبقي حاسه اللي هو this will work، وبعدها بشهر تحسي اللي هو ايه ده this is not working، بسرعه غيروا المسار very very quickly، لف الديركسيون. فبرضو قد ما انا مع نادية انه you should have clear targets that are on a quarterly basis وكل نص سنة وسنة، بس out of personal experience يعني ال changes بتبقى quick، لانه احنا بنشتغل مثلا احنا service based، فاحنا بناخد feedback سريع، فنلاقي نفسنا مثلا اللي احنا كنا فاكرين ان هو هينجح مع الناس والله لا، الناس بتقول انه ما ينفعش معاهم، ولا محتاجين نرجع للتك تيم نبيفت في الحته دي، فنلاقي نفسنا ان احنا من الشهر للتاني لا حصل شويه شفتات، بس this shouldn't be the norm برضو.
Very good. Now, ريم عايزه تكملي على السؤال ده ولا عايزه تخش على السؤال الثاني؟ السؤال الثاني how diverse or pretty much كده harmonious your team is?
Well, I'm gonna look at it from a different perspective.
Please.
مثلا Dubai from UAE. Dubai itself is a startup. We live with 200 plus nationalities, diverse backgrounds, culture, religion, and so on. But at the end, we have a homogeneous, dynamic, understanding in this. And how did we build this? Is through understanding culture and values. It's not about your expertise or achievement. Is, for instance, Mohamed, what time do you like to wake up? What time do you sleep? Or what is your favorite food, for instance? So we iterate based on this and based on the culture, understanding, and acceptance. And once you build this, a homogeneous team is always better than a team that is, segregated based on common backgrounds. So the more ideas that you bring on the table, the more understanding, the more amazing outcomes will be achieved.
Perfect. So this is the case also because it's Dubai, right? Now, what about you guys? You ladies are working with an environment, you have a relatively large team, and I understand what the gentleman just said right now, it really happens. I mean, you have references and then you hire people who look like you, who came from the same background, same university, same school, they speak the same language, da-da-da-da. And it makes a lot of sense. Now, what is the balance between diversity and inclusion?
I think it makes sense. هتكلم على الكيس بتاعي. Actually احنا ما فيش حد that we've ever hired, we hired from references. We hired directly from our community. فاحنا عشان عندنا social media presence كبير، فبنقدر ان احنا نعمل الجوب applications دي تبقى through social media، فبيجي ناس من كل backgrounds فعلا، وما بنبقاش بنبص قوي على هي كانت في مدرسة ايه ولا جامعة ايه، ولا انا ببص على هل هي في السبيشاليزيشن اللي انا بدور عليه، هل is she الابلكيشن بتاعتها convincing enough ان انا اجيبها في انترفيو. once جت الانترفيو وعجباني شويه بس عندي لسه شويه reservations، هل هتعمل التاسك او الاساينمنت اللي هديهولها كويس، and does she fit the values of the company. مش لازم نبقى شبه بعض خالص، بس I think اهم نقطه بتبقى هل الشخص ده فاهم الميشن بتاعتنا، هل الشخص ده قادرين نبقى working towards نفس الحاجه ولا هيبقى في resistance.
interesting وعايز اقول لكم انا يعني هاخد يمكن تعليق اخير من ناديه، بس طبعا السؤال بتاعك عايز له سيشن كامله لوحدها، ممكن نقعد نتكلم فيها ساعتين because I can agree 100% on everything you're saying and I can disagree 100% on everything you're saying. The pros and cons are always there and it's a very tough decision. Nadia, what's your call on this?
I agree with you ان في agreement و disagreement على نفس التوبيك، بس احنا مثلا في راحة بالي احنا معينين ناس كلها من غير references وناس من مختلفين جدا عن بعض، لان احنا we train them on the job. يعني زي ما كنت بقول من شويه احنا بنعين بالكور فاليوز، بالwillingness to learn، بالبيليف في اللي احنا بنعمله، في الميشن والفيجن بتاعتنا، وان هم عايزين يبقى جزء من الامباكت اللي احنا بنعمله. ده اللي احنا محتاجينه. once they join مع اختلاف الناس اللي عندنا في الشركه بنستثمر فيهم عشان يبقوا في البوزيشن اللي احنا عايزينهم. يعني احنا في راحة بالي عندنا ناس كانت بتشتغل بلو كولر في الفاسيلتيز، دلوقتي they are C-level في الشركه. ف this is what we do ان احنا we invest.
Wonderful. عندكم اجابه بقى للاكسرسايز الاخراني ده؟ Do not try to become a CEO if you are. 3 points, 3 words every one of you, or 1 if you want.
ما فهمت.
I want you to continue this sentence. Do not try to go ahead and become a CEO if you are what?
Self-obsessed.
Self-obsessed. Very nice. Nadia.
If you're doing it for the title.
Oh my God, دي عايزة سقفة دي. No, because that's the disease right now. I mean, that's the disease. Everybody, yes. You?
Do not go for it if you have a weak stomach and مش قد leadership role دي.
مش قدها خليكوا قاعدين بقى. All right. Guys, please, thanks a lot to the panel and please join me in saluting all of them. Let's take a picture before we go. I know you need to kick us out, but let's take a picture.